dark, vast expanse of the galaxy, where war is the constant, there lies a quiet yet terrifying threat. A threat that exists beyond the borders of Imperial dominion, hidden in the shadows, waiting for its moment to strike. The Imperium, ever vigilant and paranoid, holds secrets, and one of the most carefully guarded of all is the true nature of the Xenos. It is a truth the High Lords of Terra dare not speak aloud, for it shatters the very fabric of what they have taught humanity to believe. But there are whispers among the lower ranks of the Adeptus Mechanicus, hushed voices in the darkened manufactorums, murmurs of a truth so chilling it might undo everything the Imperium has fought for. What if the Xenos were not just monstrous invaders, but ancient, unknowable entities whose existence predates the Imperium itself? What if they were not simply the enemy, but a key to understanding the Imperium's deepest secret and the Emperor's greatest betrayal? This is a secret buried so deep it could never see the light of day. Or could it? If you're as intrigued by the shadows lurking in the deepest corners of the Warhammer 40K universe as we are, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Join us as we uncover the mysteries that the Imperium doesn't want you to know about. Don't forget to ring the bell. You won't want to miss what's coming next. The galaxy was not always as the Imperium would have humanity believe. The ancient archives, tucked deep beneath the surface of Mars, whisper of a time before the Emperor's rise to power, a time when the universe was ruled not by mankind, but by entities older than the stars themselves, the Xenos. To the Adeptus Mechanicus, they are an enigma, a puzzle whose pieces have been carefully locked away in vaults and hidden beneath layers of data slates that, if read, might unravel the carefully woven narrative of the Imperium's glorious ascendancy. The records, fragments mostly, speak of races whose existence predates even the birth of the Emperor. Their names are forgotten to most, their faces faded to myth, yet their influence remains, etched in the forgotten corners of the galaxy. And despite the fervent prayers and meticulous data analysis of the Adeptus Mechanicus, one truth becomes ever clearer. The Xenos were here long before humanity ever dreamed of taking to the stars. In the depths of the manufactorums, the priests of the Mechanicus have unearthed relics that defy all understanding. Ancient artifacts, sleek and alien, unlike anything crafted by human hands or seen in any known human world. They hum with a strange energy, an energy not of promethium or cogitator circuits, but something far older, something that speaks of a time when the galaxy was in its infancy. The inscriptions, barely decipherable, hint at connections between the Xenos and ancient human civilizations. Not enemies, as the Imperium would have us believe, but something else entirely. Perhaps even something more. Yet these records are sealed away, kept hidden in vaults, guarded by cryptic codes and locked behind layers of security. For to acknowledge their true meaning would be to acknowledge the greatest of heresies, that the Xenos are not merely invaders, but part of a greater cosmic plan, one that might even be tied to the Emperor himself. For the Adeptus Mechanicus, this is a dark road to travel. The discovery of these ancient artifacts raises questions that are not easily answered, questions about the nature of the Xenos, their purpose, and their origins. Were they once part of humanity's history? Or have they always been separate, existing in a realm beyond the reach of the Emperor's light? To seek these answers is to risk the wrath of the Inquisition, to risk falling into heresy, to risk uncovering a truth that could break the very foundation of the Imperium. And yet, some within the Mechanicus cannot ignore the pull of these forbidden discoveries. The truth, they believe, is hidden within these relics, buried in the layers of ancient knowledge that have been lost to the ravages of time. But the search is fraught with danger. Each relic unearthed, each fragment of ancient data recovered, only serves to deepen the mystery. What they discover might be more than they bargained for, more than anyone could have prepared for. The Xenos are not just enemies. They are remnants of something far greater, a legacy that stretches back through the eons, a secret so ancient that even the Emperor's endless vigilance may not have been enough to keep it hidden forever. The legacy of the Xenos is not one of random invasions or senseless violence, as the Imperium would have its citizens believe. It is a legacy of ancient power, a power that has influenced the galaxy since the beginning of time, one that will, in time, reveal its full scope. And the Imperium, for all its might and vigilance, may not be ready for the truth when it finally comes to light. It may be that the Xenos, in all their terrifying, incomprehensible glory, are more a part of the Emperor's plan than humanity has ever been willing to admit. Perhaps the war the Imperium wages against the Xenos is not one of survival, but of concealment. The Emperor of mankind, the immortal beacon of humanity, whose very being stretches across the aeons, whose will shapes the Imperium's every action, has always been a figure of mystery and awe. His brilliance is unmatched, his mind a labyrinthine expanse of knowledge, spanning the depths of science, philosophy, and metaphysics. Yet, despite this unparalleled wisdom, one question lingers. Why does the Emperor remain silent on the issue of the Xenos? Why, in all his endless foresight, does he refuse to acknowledge these ancient foes, whose very existence challenges the narrative the Imperium has so carefully crafted for itself? There are no clear answers, only conjecture, and the deeper one delves into the heart of the Imperium's doctrine, the more unsettling the silence becomes. The Emperor, the greatest being humanity has ever known, refuses to speak of the Xenos as anything other than anathema. To some, this silence is a sign of the Emperor's infinite wisdom, a deliberate omission meant to shield humanity from the crushing truth of their existence. The Xenos are not mere enemies to be eradicated. They are something far more complex, a part of a grand cosmic equation the Emperor has yet to reveal. Could it be that he has seen something in them that others cannot? Or perhaps in his vast knowledge, he understands that the truth of the Xenos' origins and their place in the galaxy would fracture the Imperium beyond repair. To the high-ranking officials within the Adeptus Terra, this silence is an enigma. They, like the rest of the Imperium, are trained to believe that humanity stands alone in the galaxy, that the Emperor's golden throne, the beacon of mankind's supremacy, is the singular light in a universe of darkness. Any acknowledgement of the Xenos threatens to undermine the very foundation of this belief. Yet, within the deepest corners of the Imperial Palace, where the Emperor's closest advisors tread, there are those who suspect that the Emperor knows more than he lets on. They speak in hushed tones of forbidden knowledge, of prophecies that are never uttered aloud, of ancient texts sealed away in the vaults beneath the Imperial Palace, texts that mention the Xenos in a way that is anything but dismissive. For some, the Emperor's silence is not an act of ignorance, but one of willful concealment. They believe that the Emperor has long known the truth. that the Xenos are not mere invaders, but an integral part of the galaxy's intricate balance. The Emperor, with his vast, nearly incomprehensible intellect, is not unaware of their power, their history, or their connection to the forces that govern the universe. But to speak of them would be to shatter the very concept of humanity's dominion over the stars. It would reveal that mankind is not the sole, rightful ruler of the galaxy, but merely one player in a much larger, far more terrifying game. Perhaps the Emperor, in his wisdom, has decided that some truths are too dangerous for humanity to bear, that to know the full extent of the Xenos' power and their role in the grand tapestry of the galaxy would break the human psyche, would fracture the fragile unity that the Imperium has fought so hard to preserve. This silence, however, has not gone unnoticed. The Inquisition, ever watchful and paranoid, has long suspected that there is more to the Xenos than meets the eye. Their agents scour the galaxy for signs of forbidden knowledge, hunting down any hint of information that might reveal the truth behind the Emperor's silence. But even the Inquisition's vast network of spies and informants cannot breach the deepest layers of secrecy that surround the Emperor's knowledge. The records are locked away, sealed under the highest levels of security, accessible only to those few who hold the Emperor's absolute trust. But even they know better than to question the silence. For to do so is to risk becoming a target of the Inquisition themselves, to risk falling into the black hole of heresy and treason. As the Imperium stands on the precipice of war with the Xenos, the Emperor's silence remains an unshakable mystery. What does he know? And why does he choose not to share it? Is it for the good of humanity? Or is there something far darker at play? As the truth of the Xenos begins to seep into the consciousness of the Imperium, one cannot help but wonder if the Emperor's silence is not a mark of wisdom, but a harbinger of something far more dangerous. In the cold shadows of the Imperium, far from the glorious light of the Emperor's gaze, there exists an order whose reach is as vast as it is insidious. The Inquisition, the agents of the Emperor's will, tasked with rooting out heresy, treachery, and the Xenos wherever they may hide. To the average citizen of the Imperium, the Inquisition is both revered and feared, their power absolute, their judgment unquestionable. But beneath their cold, unyielding exterior lies a far more unsettling truth. The Inquisition knows more than they let on, and what they conceal may be the most dangerous knowledge of all. For centuries, the Inquisition has kept its secrets hidden in plain sight. Operating in the shadows, they have infiltrated the deepest corners of the Imperium, unearthing truths that would break the morale of humanity's greatest warriors. They have witnessed things that would drive lesser minds to madness. Yet, there is one secret they guard above all others, one that they dare not speak of: the true nature of the Xenos. In every corner of the galaxy, agents of the Inquisition search for signs of Xenos activity, hunting down any trace of their existence. But the true scale of their investigation is not just a crusade against alien invaders. It is a desperate attempt to keep the most horrifying secret of all from ever coming to light. The Inquisition's obsession with the Xenos is not just born from fear of invasion. It is born from the fear of what might be revealed if the truth were ever known. What if the Xenos are not mere invaders? What if they are something far older, far more integral to the galaxy than anyone has dared to admit? What if their influence reaches into the very heart of the Imperium, into the Emperor's own mind, and into the foundation of humanity's claim to the stars. This is the dark question that haunts the Inquisition, one they are unwilling to confront directly, yet one that drives their every action. For the Inquisitors, there is no room for doubt. They cannot risk the knowledge of the Xenos becoming public, for it would unravel everything they have worked to protect. The Imperium's entire existence is predicated on the belief that humanity is the rightful ruler of the galaxy, that the Emperor's plan is the ultimate expression of mankind's destiny. To acknowledge the Xenos as something more than mere foes to be eradicated would shatter this belief, would fracture the Imperium's fragile unity. And so, the Inquisition enacts its most terrifying tool: silence. They silence any voice that dares to speak the truth, no matter the cost. Those who speak too freely are marked for death, their bodies disappearing into the black void of space, their existence erased as if it had never been. But even in the face of this impenetrable wall of secrecy, cracks are beginning to form. As the Imperium's battles with the Xenos grow more intense, as strange artifacts are uncovered and rumors of ancient Xenos, technologies spread, the Inquisition can no longer contain the growing tide of questions. Their agents may silence those who question, but they cannot silence the truth forever. The whispers among the lower ranks of the Adeptus Mechanicus grow louder, and in the darkest corners of the Imperium's vast bureaucracy, there are those who believe that the Inquisition's veil of secrecy will soon be torn asunder. The truth of the Xenos, long buried and hidden, will come to light. And when it does, the Imperium may find itself not in a battle for survival, but in a battle for its very identity. The Xenos are not just invaders. They are part of the fabric of the galaxy, woven into its very existence. The Imperium's greatest weapon against them is not its military might, but the ignorance it has carefully cultivated for millennia. But what happens when the veil lifts, and humanity is forced to confront the truth of what it has been hiding from all along? The Inquisition knows the answer, and they will stop at nothing to ensure that the truth remains buried. There are truths in the galaxy that the Imperium is not ready to face. Great lies have been woven into the fabric of humanity's existence, lies about their place in the universe, about the nature of their enemies, and about the true purpose of the Emperor's reign. For millennia, the Imperium has lived under a veil of ignorance, a comforting lie that shields them from the horrors of the cosmos. But as the war with the Xenos escalates, a growing number of voices within the Imperium are beginning to ask the questions that the higher echelons would rather ignore. What if the Imperium's understanding of the Xenos is fundamentally flawed? What if the truth about these ancient enemies and their connection to humanity is far darker than anyone dares to admit? The whispers are everywhere. They are carried in the stale air of the manufactorums, where the Adeptus Mechanicus scours the galaxy for forbidden knowledge. They are spoken in hushed tones in the back rooms of the Imperial Palace, where those who serve the Emperor whisper of ancient texts, sealed away for centuries, that mention the Xenos in ways that do not align with the official doctrine. These whispers are more than idle speculation. They are the seeds of a truth that, if revealed, would forever change the course of humanity's future. For the Xenos are not merely invaders from the dark void of space, nor are they mindless, uncaring entities bent on destruction. They are something far more profound, something that challenges everything the Imperium believes to be true about the galaxy. It is not just their ancient origins that unsettle those who seek the truth. It is the way their presence has shaped the very course of human history. There are records buried deep in the archives of the Adeptus Mechanicus that suggest the Xenos have played a pivotal role in the shaping of the Imperium itself. In these forgotten corners of knowledge, there are hints that humanity's rise to dominance in the galaxy was not as inevitable as the Emperor's loyal servants believe. The Xenos, in their ancient wisdom, may have set in motion events that led to humanity's ascendancy, or perhaps even guided the Emperor's own journey. To acknowledge this truth would not only undo the core narrative of the Imperium, but it would also reveal that the Emperor, for all his power and foresight, is not the sole architect of mankind's destiny. These are the questions that the Inquisition fears to ask. These are the truths that the Adeptus Mechanicus is not prepared to confront. And yet, despite their best efforts to keep the truth buried, the pieces of the puzzle continue to surface. Strange artifacts, ancient ruins, and cryptic messages are slowly revealing a reality that the Imperium is desperately trying to deny. The more these clues are uncovered, the clearer it becomes that the Xenos are not the mindless enemies they are portrayed to be. They are far more than that. And the Imperium's understanding of them and their own history may be disastrously wrong. The longer the Imperium resists the truth, the more perilous their position becomes. The war with the Xenos is not just a struggle for survival. It is a struggle for understanding, for the very meaning of humanity's existence in the galaxy. And as more and more evidence comes to light, the question grows: what will happen when the truth is finally revealed? Will the Imperium crumble beneath the weight of its own ignorance? Or will humanity rise to confront the terrifying reality of what the Xenos truly are? There is a truth buried beneath the lies of the Imperium, one that is waiting to be uncovered. And when it is, it will change everything. The Xenos were never simply enemies to be eradicated. To some, they were the specters of an ancient past, invaders whose origins were as mysterious as the Emperor's own creation. But what if their presence in the galaxy, their war against humanity, is part of a larger, more intricate design, one that stretches beyond mere survival or conquest? What if the Emperor's refusal to acknowledge them, his silence on their nature, is not a sign of ignorance or fear, but a conscious, calculated choice? The Emperor of mankind, the immortal ruler of humanity, whose mind encompasses more knowledge than any mortal can fathom, must have known something others did not. Perhaps in the deepest recesses of his plan, the Xenos were always meant to play a role. For centuries, humanity has fought the Xenos without ever understanding their true purpose in the galaxy. The Imperium's leaders have long believed that humanity's war against them is one of sheer survival, a battle for the future of mankind. Yet, for all their might, the Xenos persist. They are always there, just beyond the horizon, always waiting, always evolving. Why, after so many millennia of war, does the Imperium still struggle to understand them? Could it be that the Xenos are not merely obstacles to overcome, but pieces of a grander puzzle? A puzzle whose solution lies buried within the Emperor's own secrets. The Emperor's silence on the Xenos is not just a matter of strategic ignorance, nor is it a deliberate omission for the sake of maintaining the Imperium's unity. There is something more, something deeper. Some believe that the Emperor has known the truth for centuries, that the Xenos are not enemies to be exterminated, but necessary agents in a cosmic cycle that spans far beyond the human race. To acknowledge this truth would mean acknowledging that humanity is not alone in the galaxy, that they were never meant to rule it as sole sovereigns. The Xenos, in all their forms, the Orcs, the Necrons, the Tyranids, are not just invaders. They are part of a greater cosmic balance, one that even the Emperor himself must adhere to. To truly understand the Xenos, one must understand the Emperor's ultimate plan, a plan that requires the coexistence of all things, even those the Imperium considers its greatest enemies. Rumors among the highest circles of the Adeptus Terra suggest that the Emperor's strategy has always been one of containment, not annihilation. He saw, even before the Great Crusade, that the galaxy could never be ruled by mankind alone. That is why the Xenos were never fully destroyed. They were allowed to persist in the fringes of the galaxy, constantly threatening the Imperium, but never able to fully consume it. Perhaps this was the Emperor's way of ensuring balance, of preventing humanity from becoming too complacent, too arrogant in its dominance. The war against the Xenos was never meant to end, for without this eternal struggle, the Imperium might have fallen into stagnation. The Emperor's true plan, it seems, was to guide humanity not to eternal dominance, but to eternal vigilance. The Xenos, in this view, are the universe's natural counterbalance, the constant challenge that ensures humanity remains strong, adaptable, and ever vigilant. The war with them, then, is not a war of extinction, but of balance. The Imperium must fight to survive, not just for its own sake, but for the sake of the entire galaxy's order. Without the Xenos, humanity might lose its edge, its drive, its reason for expanding, evolving, and improving. The Emperor's silence, his calculated refusal to speak of the Xenos as more than mere enemies, is part of this grand design. By keeping humanity in the dark about the true nature of the Xenos, he ensured that the Imperium would always fight, always strive, and never grow weak. As the truth slowly unfurls, as the Imperium begins to realize that the Xenos are not the mindless monsters they once believed, the question becomes, what does this revelation mean for the future? Will humanity accept the truth of their existence, or will it tear the Imperium apart? Will the Xenos be seen as allies, enemies, or something else entirely? And what of the Emperor's ultimate goal, a goal that has remained hidden from all but a few? The answers to these questions lie buried deep within the Emperor's mind, and only time will tell whether humanity is ready to face the truth. The Emperor's plan is far greater than anyone can comprehend, but one thing is certain: the Xenos are a part of it. Whether they are enemies to be destroyed or necessary players in a cosmic game of balance, they will continue to shape the future of the galaxy. And humanity, for all its might, is still only a pawn in a game far larger than it ever realized.